Okay, so moving on, we're ready to move on to part 1 of the instruction sheet. Before we do that, let me show you guys what I decided to do with this plane project. We're actually going to be doing ours in this version, the Tornado ID8 AC N704, the Royal Saudi Arabia Air Force N78QN. And that's the one that has the camouflage, because I think that one looked really cool. And I think it would look better to camouflage the plane. So we're going to do it in this version. Okay, with that being said, we're ready to move on to step 1. And in step 1, you can see the cockpit. We put the seats in. You got the instrument panels on all sides of the seats. We've got the walls of the cockpit. And it looks like we have some landing gear and box to put in to the fuselage, but that's in step 2. All right, so let's check out what we need to do in step 1. When we washed all the parts, actually, let me show you something first. So the plane, the wings are going to be held in place on hinges on the side wings in the back. And this is going to go here, like this. So I'm wondering at some point, we're going to paint the fuselage. So I'm wondering if we should skip ahead a few steps just to glue the tail fin, get it all set, so that can be on. These are going to be rotatable, as you can see. Let me show you the part. So that's going to be held in place that way, but we're still going to have to paint the base coat of the camouflage. And I'm thinking we can use this, the light tan. After we use the light tan, we can use the darker tan color. And then finally we can use the green, and I think that'll look pretty good. But that's for the fuselage, and we're going to use the spray gun for that. So I just wanted to make a plan to do that, and we can do the wings separately because they're going to rotate. There are pins on the inside of the fuselage that's going to go on. Okay, so the inside of the cockpit, we were able to wash it and take apart the pieces that they had put on. And you can see this side, there's a couple of things that the previous builder had put on. And I'll show some pictures of the actual cockpit. So the way the cockpit looked was the inside was like a gray. When it comes to the instrument panel, they were kind of like silver. And a couple of the pictures that I had seen, the instruments, when they lit up, were like a green. And as for the seats, you can see the previous paint, I put them like a green. Let's see. I think we're going to use the darker green because this was more the color that I had seen. And just like the instrument panels in the front, these instrument panels were silver on top. And we've got the walls that go on to the back, where it forms a bulkhead going into the fuselage. So I think first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue the walls into place, and we'll put just a drop. And make sure it's facing the right way. Alright, just like that. And moving on to the seats, you can see they've got like seat belts. So we're going to paint the seats, and then we're going to use the paint pen to do the seat belts. So we're going to need to stir up our paint. Let's see how this is going to go on. we are. It looks pretty good. All right, we'll put this aside to dry. Here we are. So let's put that on let that dry. In the meantime, this looks like, yep, this had some time to dry. And the inside is gray. Like I said, and the instrument panels are going to be silver. So I'm thinking we've got the gunship gray, and we've got the light gray. I'm thinking more of the gunship gray would look better. Let's paint the cockpit gray now. We can start at the back. I think that looks better already. And the other side of the bulkheads I'll put black later on. The pilot sticks, and there's two of them that are going to go into the floor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those silver when we put them into the cockpit, when we put in the instrument panels. So let me show you this section right here. This is for the forward landing gear and the nose. And you can see the compartment it's going to go into. And let's take the fuselage apart. See right in there? And I just had it. Here it is. So this is going to fit. It's going to click into place like that. So this is how it's going to go. Because there's a little light that's going to go on there. Oh man, I really want to put a light in there for the landing gear, but it's too small. So this is how the landing gear is going to go. Let's go ahead and we're going to put the inside of this part gray. The same kind of gray that the rest of the cockpit was. And you can see how it's going to lock into place right there. But you can also see that there's pieces that are going to show. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to actually have to paint the edge. It looks like the top edge. And what we can do is we can touch it up after we paint the fuselage, put this in, and then we can just touch it up with a brush. I don't know why whoever did this last decided to put it white. I don't think that matches anything on the plane. Well, I don't know what kind of paint was used on this before, but you can see it kind of separating at the ridges. So I'm going to just kind of leave this well enough alone, and we'll put that aside to dry. So when it comes to the silver, The silver parts are going to be the instrument panels, the sticks. I'm going to make the bottoms of the sticks because the handle will be black, and then we'll put the sticks silver, and we're going to do the landing gear in silver. See if you guys can see how small the little stick shift is. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but I'll put that over there for now. This should show up nice against the background, the dark background in the cockpit. Okay, so those are finished. Those are all set to put in. Let's move on. All right, we'll start from the top. I think this is going to look a lot better silver than it did white. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look up, see if I can find any detailed pictures of the landing gear, and if there's any special little details, then I'll add it later. Yeah, it looks like we got all the areas. Alright, so to give you an idea of what the instrument panels are going to look like, hopefully you can see the gray contrast to the silver on top, the instrument panel. Let's go ahead and we'll do the other panel. Yeah, that's the second one. Now let's do the back. Be careful for the landing gear. There. I think this is starting to look real good, especially compared to the way it looked when I got the kit. So, love it. All right, so now we got to wait for all this to dry, and then we're going to be able to put the decals on. Let me show you guys. So when everything is nice and dry, we're going to move on, and we'll put on the decals. We'll put the cockpit together, and then we'll do the details on the seats. Okay, so I had a little while to dry, and the landing gear, you can see everything is a little bit of time to dry. Now what I did was, for the decals, I actually got a cup of warm water, and I put just a drop of regular dish soap in it. That'll act as a humectant, because the decals are pretty old. So we'll put these aside for a minute. And let's check on our seats. You can see that they look pretty good. Dry to handle. Yep, so we're all set to think about putting those into the cockpit. You can see the other one. So the seat belts that are on these are actually, they're like a tan. All right, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a toothpick, and ever so slightly, I'm going to just kind of dab a teeny bit on, just to show that there are seat belts. Let's see. Again, I'm gonna do it like this. There, I think that's pretty good. That's my extent. Let me show you guys. This way here, we can acknowledge that there are seatbelts there, something other than just a seat. So let's do the other one. Okay. Let me show you guys. Again, just to show that there are seatbelts there, to acknowledge it, and it's a different color than the seat. Okay. And we'll get ready, and those will go into the cockpit. Okay, so when it comes to part 2, you can see the cockpit's going to go in, the landing gear is going to go in. So you can see the pieces that are all glued together and ready to go in. But I think what I want to do is the interior of the fuselage. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it the metal. We're going to make it gray. And that's going to represent the metal frame. Just in case any part of the plane you can actually see in, it'll be gray and it'll actually look like the metal. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint the inside of the fuselage. We're going to make that gray. Start at the back of the plane where the thrusters are going to go. And again, not necessary to paint the entire fuselage interior, but I just want to make sure. There. That looks pretty good. That way there, it'll block the light, and anything we see on the inside, it'll appear gray and it'll look like metal. So why don't we do the other half? And again, we can start down at the thrusters. Just make sure we got every little nook and cranny, especially where the cockpit is going to go. Okay, so we got the pieces. The two halves of the fuselage have been painted. And again, I wanted the interior to be gray, so it looks like metal, just in case we're able to see in any section of the plane, you'll see it's all metal. Plus, this is going to act as good light block. Now, some of you might be saying, what the heck's he talking about, light block? Well, those of you that follow my channel, you guys know that I absolutely love lighting my models. This is going to be no exception. Now, you see this bump on the plane that was painted red? Well, I'm actually going to put a light there, and you can see how good putting a coat on the inside is going to be for the light leak, because that light is going to go right in there, and we don't want any light leak, especially when we spray the base coat onto the outside of the fuselage. It's going to look really good. And I think we're going to have a blinking light, like a strobe, somewhere on the bottom. I got to check out the official location, and you can see it's going to look really good. Okay, so this is all set for now. The next time we touch the fuselage, we're going to be spraying the outside. So let's put this aside to dry. I think what we're going to do is we're going to put the decals on first inside the cockpit. you can see where it's going to go. Now, I got some interesting plans for the cockpit because I've seen pictures where the instrument panel actually lights up and everything has a green hue to it. So let me see. Let me try to place the seats in for now. This is unofficially how they're going to go in. And I'm thinking about I want to put 2 green lights in. I'm thinking from when we see the outside from the cockpit, you can see that there's a green light for the instrument panel. So I'm thinking about doing one in the back of the front seat aimed up towards the back, and then doing one over here aimed up towards the front seat. So that way there you can imagine that the panel, when it's lit, the green light reflection will be reflecting off the seat. Okay, so we got 2 green LED bulbs. Let me show you guys. Okay, let's see if this is a little bit better. Hopefully you guys can see the green. And what I want to do, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep these. I want to be able to aim one of them at the back, into the back seat, and one of them in the front, up at the front seat. That way there it looks like the instrument panel is glowing. So, before we do that, I think we should go ahead and put this aside. We should put our decals on now. We got number 3, number 6, number 2, and number 5. So let me go ahead and cut these out. We'll do the starboard side. I don't know what's called on an airplane. We'll do that side first. And the one that's going in the back is number 6. And what did I say? Number 3. So I think we're going to do the back one first. And let's see, which way does it look like? It looks like it wants to go that way. So let's... And we got number 3. That looks pretty cool. Let's see. We'll get just a bit of the moisture off. Alright. And we'll turn it around. And we'll do 5. Alright, so that little lump, that little thing kind of impeded the decals going on smoothly, so I had to cut around it. And there's one on the front one too, but there's actually more room, so I don't know if I'll have to cut it. Let's check. That worked out a little bit better in the front. So let's get the extra moisture off. Now what I want to do now, the instrument panels are in, and I want to put a little bit of the micro set. There. And that, when that dries, the decal will form fit to the surface, and it'll be, we'll make sure that they're not going to go anywhere. But I think what we can do now is we can think about gluing the seats in. There are these little lips or ridges in the back where you can tell where the chair is going to go. So just like that, maybe a little drop in the front. And you can see the seats kind of angled back a little bit. So like I said, I'm going to put a light in front of the front back seat and in front of the front seat. And the lights that we have I think these are 2.5 millimeter or 2 millimeter lights. See how, yeah, that should work. I'm going to angle it so that it's shining on the seats. Okay, so that'll be good. So now I'm going to put in the little pilot sticks. So hopefully you can see the little pilot stick. Glued into place. I'm going to do the same thing for the back. Now hopefully you can see that. I know it's really tiny. So it's starting to look good. Right about there. And I'm going to do the same thing for the back. There. Okay, so now what we can think of doing is putting the wires in. And I think we got to do is we got to heat up the glue gun. There, we'll let that cool, and then we'll pass the other wires through. Yeah, now we'll let that set. There we are. You can see the glue solidified, keeping the wires in place. So now what we need to do is we're going to angle the bulbs towards the seats. Just like this. See how it's angled? Do the same thing for the front. That way there, when it's in the cockpit and we're looking down at the plane, it's going to look like the instrument panels are lit, illuminating the seats. So why don't we go ahead and put the wires back together and see if I can get this to stay on. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that, but once the cockpit is on, it's going to look like the instrument panel is lighting the inside. You can see the green representing the instrument panel, and we got it angled towards the seat, so that's a good thing. So the pilot is able to read the instruments, and maybe if we need to, we can tone down the light. So, considering what this looked like when I got the model kit, I think this is coming along pretty cool. And zoom in, and you can see the lights that are going to be on the instrument panel showing on the seats. So let's go ahead and take it off. And you guys can see the detail that we've done so far. We got the instrument panel in, we got the seats, the seat belts, we got the stick, the instrument panels on either side. Moving up to the front seat, you can see the same thing. We got the instrument panels in, we got the seat belts, and we got the stick coming out of the floor, the controller, and the whole thing has been painted. And again, I think it looks a little bit better than it did when I first got it. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed this part. This was part 3. We took care of the cockpit. the lighting of the cockpit. And when we move on, we're going to be doing probably the hull. We're going to paint the outside of the hull. So my friends, I thank you so much for watching. Until the next video, talk to you soon.